like you're talking about generations, right? And expressing themselves in the workplace. And so I'm just going to pick your mind on some few ways to communicate certain phrases, reword some phrases.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so let's assume I want to tell someone their work is unacceptable. How am I supposed to write that in an email?
All right, so you have to tell somebody their work is unacceptable.
Yeah, but that's harsh, right?
That is pretty harsh. I would try to get into a video or in person, because communicating that in email is rough, right? Just picture receiving that email. I can only picture the subject line of that. It's probably like feedback or something like scary. I would schedule time to meet with that person. I would maybe ask them to help me understand their process. So tell me a little bit about how you started working on this. If they'll probably sense that something's up. So I might just ask a couple questions, tell me what your process was. Do you feel like you rushed anything? And then I would probably at that point say, well, here's what works in this piece. So I'd give them some positive, I'd give them some love. And then I would probably at that point say, well, here are the things that I think need to be improved upon.
Right.
Like X, Y, Z. And it's at that point that you can say, I don't believe that, this particular part is an acceptable piece of work for our client or our brand. That's when you can lower the boom. But I would try to understand the process first, because if the work is unacceptable because they weren't given, a certain amount of research, or maybe somebody didn't reply to something, I would try to seek to understand the situation first. And then in that moment, kind of evaluate, okay, I think that's legitimate, or that's just an excuse. You're going to be able to figure it out. But I wouldn't be shy about it. If you're not happy with it, if you want to push them, I would not be shy giving them that feedback. But I'd also give them some strategic moves to fix it, right? You don't want to fix it for them, but telling them it's bad and then not giving them a next point, you're going to want to give them something. I'd take a look at this, or here's an example of what I'm looking for. But give them something to kind of support that next stage. If you do that and the next stage is still just as unacceptable, that's an entirely other conversation.
Okay, so what about a superior or supervisor who is being a bit too nosy, and how do you tell them off and say it's none of your business? So how do you rewrite a mail like that?
If I had a boss who was doing that to me, what I would probably do is I would probably say, hey, I feel like you've been asking a lot of questions about this particular project. I'm just curious, is there something that I'm not doing that you'd like to see? Are you, I might put it back. You're not putting it back on them, but I would try to structure it in a way that's this is what I'm experiencing. I feel like you've been you've been really interested in my work on this project. I appreciate that, but I'm just trying to understand why.
That's good.
Turn it back to them. I think where your power is in this situation, if you're the person that feels like this, is you've got to ask it at a time when you're not going to get heated or angry about it. You have to do it at a point where your own frustration, you've let it go a little bit so that you can have a very mature and responsible conversation.
Yeah. So that doesn't come off as angry.
Right. You want to show up as responsible, and, I'm trying to understand why you're showing up like this, or what is it that, why are you being nosy or, micromanaging? I think that's probably the thing. I'm just trying to understand why.
Okay, so what about if this is the last scenario? What about if you deeply admire someone's work, and you feel you deeply admire the person or the personality? How are you supposed to go about it? Particularly the person of the opposite sex, and let's say without it coming off as being, too strong. Right? Yeah. How do you take that?
I mean, I don't think there's any other way to say it, but
in person?
Yes, I would definitely say it in person. I mean, if that's possible, I would say it in person. I think there's, you're not wrong to give anybody that feedback. If you've been impressed by something they've done, I would tell them, and I would say, I just wanted you to know I really appreciated your work on this. I really like the way you're thinking. I think if you keep it really short and sweet and you're not like gushing over that, I think if you like gush and it's like a very long, I think that might be borderline weird. But I think if you keep it pretty short and sweet and you tell them they did great work and here's why, and that's it.
Right. Okay.